Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and we're going to have to think very critically when we examine the topic for this video because I have both sides of the issue and I need you to sort through things and see where you think the truth lies. So, this is from the Gateway Pundit, and this was put out June 27th. And they claim that Kamala Harris says she was in second integrated class in Berkeley, which is what she says, but they claim that that was a lie and that yearbook pictures prove she's lying. So that was Thursday night. She was in the debate and she took on Joe Biden and was saying how, she was part of that second class in segregation in that school at Berkeley. Okay. And here's the clip if you want to watch it. I'm not going to play it, but there it is if you want it. Remember, all the links are going to be down below in the description. And if you can't find the description, if you're like on a cell or on a tablet or something like that, look for a small downward arrow or a little triangle or possibly even 3 dots. Sometimes they do that. But there should be a way that you can open that up and it will give you all of the links down there so you can see them and you can click on them. Anyway, so, this was the comment she made because, yeah, she did claim that. Well, this is what the Gateway Pundit says. They said that she posted this picture afterwards just to reinforce that she was the little girl in California who was bused to school. And that little girl was me, and there's a picture of her when she was little. But it was all a lie. Harris said she was a student in only the second class to integrate at Berkeley Public Schools. Not true. Kamala's parents were successful professionals. Kamala went to school in Berkeley for only 2 years. She then moved with her mother at age 7 to Canada, where she attended grade school and high school. Kamala Harris was born in 1964. She claimed she was only the second class to integrate at the Berkeley Public Schools. Kamala lied. Actually, the classrooms in Berkeley were already integrated in 1963 before she was born. Here's a photo from the 1963 Berkeley Yearbook. And I don't know if I can get this bigger. Let's find out. That's all the bigger it's going to go. But you can probably see that there are both black and white faces there. So it does look fairly integrated. So I want you to remember that. And there is another one then down below. This was the 1964 yearbook, the year she was born. And we have the similar results. So they say that she was making this up. Well, I want you to think critically, because while we would like to believe this is totally true, that she lied about all of this, that's not necessarily true. Now, the Gateway Pundit actually back in 2018, July 2018, they had a similar article because of things that she had tweeted out and she had said. And so she also then was claiming that she was in that second class to be put out, the second class to integrate at Berkeley Public Schools. Okay, and they went through and they put the same thing together. So it's basically the same article, and it was put out back in July of 2018. So, well, we go to factcheck.org, and again, this tends to be left wing here, so take things that they put out with a grain of salt. But I did want to point out to you that they claim that she was not, and that the district fully integrated in only 1968. She was born in 1964, and her first year of school was 1969. And Harris began attending school in 1969. So, and part of the reason this came up is they tied it to the Brett Kavanaugh thing. It's like, really? Okay. Because she was one of the really vocal ones against him. And there's that tweet again. And so she didn't lie that they supposedly didn't integrate the school district until 1968. Well, the thing is, you saw the faces in the yearbook. Yes, the high school was integrated, but the elementary was a little different because there was only one high school. Everything funneled in from all the elementary schools. Then they had just one high school. So there was no possibility for segregation because there was only one school, so everyone had to attend it. But they're saying that the elementary schools, though, there were 14 of them, and that was a different story. They each drew students from the neighborhoods they were in. Those neighborhoods were segregated. So that's what they're saying, that it was not technically segregated, but because it drew the kids from that area, it actually was. And so that's what they're saying here. Well, CNN says basically the same thing here. And they verify that, what she said was true. Well, okay, I think probably, yes, she was in a group, and yes, they did do some desegregation, although, again, in the high school, it was already desegregated, so it didn't matter. In the elementary schools, that's very possible. So I'm going to call the Gateway Pundit a little iffy on this, all right? I think maybe they are trying to push more than what's really there. And so I tend to think that she really wasn't. But there's a lot of stuff about Kamala Harris that we need to know. First of all, back in 2010, she was in some hot water because her office, and, she was a district attorney, and she violated defendants' rights by hiding damaging information about a police drug lab technician and was indifferent to demands that it account for its failings. Yeah, so as a district attorney, she went through a lot of hot water. And Harris knew about it because this article says last fall, Harris's lead drug prosecutor complained about Madden's unreliability. Madden was the tech that was doing the drug tests. Unreliability in a memo to her bosses, information that was also wrongly kept from the defense. So it was kept from the defense, which means that, that was really violating that person's rights, and they couldn't actually form their case correctly because they didn't have all the information because Kamala Harris was hiding it, her office. So that's one thing, and that was back in 2010. And if you go to Wikipedia about her, there's some things you may not be aware of. First of all, yes, she was born in the United States. So yes, she is a U.S. citizen. There's no problem with that. Her mother is Indian and her father is Jamaican. And so it's kind of interesting to me when she's talking about all of this, reparations and how she's bringing up, slavery and everything. Well, the problem we have is that her family never went through that. None of her family were ever slaves in the United States. So they don't know what that was like. They don't have that experience. So when she says she's standing up for, the blacks in America, it seems kind of strange to me because that's not who she is. I mean, yeah, her father was black, but he was Jamaican. So he was not a slave in the United States. On the contrary, I thought this was kind of interesting because her father, Donald Harris, and by the way, her mom is a breast cancer scientist and her dad is a Stanford University economics professor. So she is not just a little kid. She says that she would not have probably ever made it to where she is today had it not been for that busing. And it's like, wait a minute. You don't think her parents would have made sure that she had a good education? Yeah, it doesn't follow. Recalling the lives of his grandmothers, Donald Harris wrote that one was related to a plantation and slave owner while the other had unknown ancestry. So yeah, one was related to a plantation and slave owner. And she's one of them championing the whole reparations thing. I have no qualms with her saying she's black, although technically it appears she's only half black. And I don't understand why, they're biracial. Why not be proud of being biracial? I think that's kind of cool. So why do you only consider yourself one of those races instead of both? I don't have much to say really when it comes to the race thing because I just see people. I don't see colors. We're all different shades of brown. Some of us just are more brown than others, and some of us are less brown than others. It doesn't matter because it's the person inside. We're all made in God's image, so I just don't see any skin color as meaning anything. It's not important to me. And, I'm not saying that they have not experienced problems and they haven't experienced racism in the past. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that maybe if we just started focusing on the people inside, we might have a whole lot less problems, because the more we focus on the color of somebody's skin, the less together we're going to be, the more divided we are. And so the way to rid us of the division is to stop looking at the color of people's skin and to look at who they are inside. But that's me. Anyway, so she really has some roots here that are quite different than what most people in the United States who are talking about their descendants of slaves, they experienced something totally different. Their families did. And so it seems kind of odd when she's becoming a champion for them when her family did not experience any of that. So that's just my thoughts on it. Again, I don't have much of a dog in the race, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, so she grew up going to both a Black Baptist church and a Hindu temple. And she didn't see any problem with that. It just makes me wonder, what was the church teaching? Because really, there's a big difference. The online biblical counseling group that I was part of, we studied a lot of religions. And so I've studied about Hinduism. I've studied many different religions. And so I know that there are some major contradictions between those two, a Baptist and a Hindu. There's some definite things that they should have qualms about in relating to each other. Anyway, and then notice this, she began her elementary education during the second year of Berkeley's historic public school desegregation busing program. But again, keep in mind, though, that this is left-wing Wikipedia, so I would not expect it to say anything else. It's definitely never going to call her out if she was wrong. Her parents divorced when she was 7, and her mother was granted custody of the children, which probably means at 7 she moved to a different location, because her parents divorced, so they probably were not living together. I expect them to have separated into different households. After the divorce, when Harris was 12, her mother moved with the children to Montreal, Quebec. Yeah, so she actually went to school. Her high school career was in Quebec. Now, I have nothing against Quebec, okay? Quebec, the Quebecois, nice people, very nice people, and everything. But the majority of her growing up experience was not in the United States. And I think that's a big part of the problem, because many of the experiences that really form a person happen during those teenage years and your college years. From about 15 to 25. Those 10 years are really important in who you end up becoming. And so I think there was an awful lot of outside influence on her, some non-American influence that had probably shaped her ideology that she has now. So anyway, I wanted to point that out to you. I just thought it was very interesting. Well, there's been a big hullabaloo about her because this guy put out a tweet that was claiming she's not American Black. Now, his point was similar to what I was saying, that he thinks that since her family never went through the American slave situation, that she really doesn't have that type of background, and so she's not an American Black. The blacks that grew up in Jamaica have a different experience. And so that's what he was talking about. And if you watch this video, he kind of rambles an awful lot, but I'll put the link down below and you can watch it and see. However, this one brought up an interesting point about it, because this one says, what a weird coincidence that a group of accounts starting with Ali decided to tweet the exact same thing verbatim about Kamala Harris within minutes of each other tonight. So, is it a bunch of bots, and whose side are the bots on? And they go through, there's people trying to discredit him. There's people saying, no, he's really not. It's an interesting thread. I don't know the truth. I'm telling you that right now. I think it's a situation where every person is going to have to decide on your own. and look through the evidence on both sides. And that's what I always recommend, that you always check out both sides of an issue, because you don't know for sure. You don't know who's lying unless you hear both sides. So, and I know somebody told me that not to do that, but you really have to hear both sides of things. You can't know what's really happening without that. This article is saying, well, his comment goes viral exposing Kamala Harris's lie in slave owner ancestry. Well, even Wikipedia said that. Said, her father, Donald Harris, was the one wrote that one was related to a plantation and slave owner. It says he was related to him, doesn't necessarily mean they owned slaves, although somebody in the family did. And so you've got this article. Again, it's good to read the different articles. I can't tell you which one is telling the truth. I really can't, because I tend not to believe CNN. However, there are contradictory things all throughout. But we do know for sure that she is Jamaican. Her father's Jamaican. That's not even in question. So she is half Jamaican, and that happens to be the black half. But again, I'm just not sure why she just doesn't, celebrate the fact that she's biracial. I, again, think that's pretty cool. So that's how you'd celebrate things, just by taking both halves and celebrating that you're both. But I'm not real big on the hyphenated things, hyphenated Americans. We're Americans. Everybody's an American. So I'm not saying she's a Jamaican American. I'm just saying that her experience, her family's experience, was not the same as the majority of blacks in the United States. And when it comes to that, I was listening tonight to Joe Pagliano's radio show, and he had Ben Carson on there. And he asked Ben about the reparations, and Ben said, well, when you come across somebody who's talking about the reparations, what you have to do is you have to ask them questions like, okay, so we're going to pay this generation. Are we going to also pay the next generation? Is that part of the reparations? Do we need to go further? I mean, more generations down the line? How many generations do we need to go down and fund reparations for all of those? And then what do you do with people who may be black, but they moved into the country? None of their family was here when America had slavery. So what do you do about them? What do you do about the white people who have relatives who fought in the Civil War to free the slaves? I mean, should they have to pay reparations? Are black people going to have to pay more in taxes so they can reimburse the reparations? And, there's just a lot of questions. And I thought Ben came up with a really good thing to do when people start talking about that. Start asking questions. And really, that's one of the best ways to get some of these people to think about what the Democrats are saying right now. Take them through the logical conclusions of it. Okay, so if we're going to get rid of cows in 12 years, how's that going to affect things? How many people are going to lose their jobs because they raise cows? How many people are going to lose their jobs because they're veterinaries for those cows? How many people are going to lose their jobs because of the food that is raised for those cows? I mean, there's just a lot of things when you start thinking it through. And if we can do that, I think it may help the whole situation. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to show you that I don't think it's as simple as yes, she's lying, or no, she's not. I think she probably stretched the truth a little bit, and that's her talking point. But I don't think she should have been so highly offended that she ended up, taking Joe Biden to task. But hey, as a Republican, I'm very happy that she did, because, Joe's got a lot of skeletons in his closet, and it's just all going to start coming out. So you be prepared, Joe. And I don't even think he looked like he was prepared. But anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you. Go through the different links that I post down below and check it out for yourself. See which one you think is probably more valid. Is she totally lying, or is there really a reason why she said what she did? And is she technically correct, although it's very misleading? That's what I think. So that's what I've got on this one. But hey, I've got to tell you this. I just got a couple things in the mail today that were really wonderful. And the first one was a t-shirt. Yes, I have my first t-shirt design out. Now it's for the ladies. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't have yours done yet, but I'm working on one for you. And I'm also working on some hats. So yay, that's going to be exciting. And I also have the design for the ladies. It's on a mug. So I wanted to share that with you. I'll put the link down below, and you can also choose colors. The design doesn't work on the darker colors, so the colors that are available are brighter ones, and I hope it's going to come out on all of them. I haven't seen it on all of them, but I did get a blue one because I happen to like blue, and I'm sorry that it's the Democrat color, but I can't help it. I really like blue. And it's kind of a baby blue color, so that, and I got the mug in blue too. It looks awesome. So I hope maybe you'll stop by and check them out. And if you've got a lady in your life that, you know, is conservative and beautiful and intelligent, like most of us conservative women are, you know, get her one of these. It'd be a great present, right? So I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.